Hello, English 101 students. This is from the Better Late Than Never category. I wanted to do a video just going over the main things you should look out for in the genre essay that's coming up. This due on October 14th. Okay? Of course, always double check your assignment due dates in Canvas. I want to go over with this just so that I can give you some tips and explain maybe further some of the stuff that's written on the assignment sheet. So I have the assignment sheet here. You can download it in the modules tab. If you want to pause this video and follow along, that might be a good idea. Okay, so the due dates. Introduction outlines due in Canvas on the 1st of October. If you want to submit for extra credit, your rough draft, that's due on the 11th, and then the final draft is due on the 14th. Here's the assignment. Movies and television have a profound influence on our lives, whether or not we are consciously aware of this influence. They can affect how we understand other people, other cultures, and even ourselves, how we should or might be living our lives, our roles in the world, etc. Movies entertain us in different ways through different categories of film. These categories in film and literature are called genres. It's a French word, so it says je at the beginning instead of a hard G sound. For this assignment, write an 1150 to 1500 word explaining essay that discusses how one of the films from the list below, and you have to stick to the list below, accomplishes the goal of that genre. I do expect you to incorporate some or all the writing techniques you read about in the chapters for this unit. So we're going to be looking at categories of film and how they should express the goals of that genre and how well the film that you pick fits into it. I've purposely picked films that maybe aren't perfectly suited to that genre. And it's up to you to do an analysis of the film and how well it fits your personal definition. All right, moving on to the next paragraph. For this essay, you'll choose a film from the list provided and analyze how it successfully fits into the film's genre. If you want to use a film that's not on the list, you must clear it with me first, and it also must be in one of the genres that's listed on the movie list. So, love story, thriller, horror film, vampire movie, science fiction, comic book film, epic, or social commentary. Let's see. The first thing you'll have to do is define for yourself and in your paper what things a film in that category needs to do. Now, this definition is independent of the movie. Do not tailor your definition of the genre to fit the film. It should be slightly different. None of these films are going to perfectly fit into most people's definition of that genre. So do keep that in mind as you're putting together the definition. Now, in terms of the location of the definition, it should be in the introduction, so the second paragraph of the essay, or right after the introduction, third paragraph in the essay. And I know I said second or third paragraph because you have a lead-in for this paper. All right, continuing on. You need to make sure that you spend a good amount of time defining for yourself what a good film in this genre should do, and provide that definition for your reader. After you've defined the genre, your main objective will be the analytical discussion of the text where, by the end of the essay, your reader will be clear about how well this film fits into that genre. Begin by looking at the different components of the film, such as characters, setting, music, dialogue, etc. How does this film stack up in each of these components when compared to your definition of the genre? One thing I do want to point out is you don't need to be handcuffed to the chronology of the film, meaning you don't have to, your examples or scenes that you're discussing don't have to start at the beginning of the film and move toward the end. The focus is on your thesis, which is how well the film fits into the genre and for what reasons. So you're going to be picking out your examples from the film that best help prove your thesis. So you don't need to stick to the chronology of the film. Okay, back to the third paragraph here. Once you've decided on how well the film fits your definition of the genre, you can work to provide your points in the paper. Rather than giving plot synopsis of the movie, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second, your essay should lay out how your film succeeds in the genre. You may choose to narrow your focus by analyzing just a few scenes or just a few characters. You would likely include specific details and descriptions of scenes as well as quotation of dialogue to make your points. Yeah, I really would like to see, especially in that lead-in, quotation of dialogue, because it gives the characters a voice, it makes it more interesting, makes your essay flow better. Let's see, once you've chosen your movie from the films on the list, you'll need to watch it closely a minimum of 2 times. On the first viewing, watch for an overall sense of the movie. Determine the appropriate criteria for evaluating it. On second and subsequent viewings, take notes on the elements of the film that pertain to your chosen focus. Once straight through, just to get a gist of the movie, especially if it's not one you've seen before. Then the second time you take notes on how well it fits the genre. So you may have to do some preliminary work on what you think a good film in the genre should do before you even start watching the film. Okay, this next paragraph is very important because probably the biggest mistake I see, especially in the online class, is students writing a plot synopsis or a plot summary. This isn't a book report. Listen to this paragraph. In grading this paper, I'll be looking for depth of ideas and analysis, use of supporting evidence, and overall strength and clarity of the writing itself. Please note that this is not a plot summary of the movie. Do not write about what happens in the movie, but rather how it accomplishes what it's supposed to, according to the criteria you have created in that category. When you are writing, and notice this is in bold, assume that your reader has seen the movie. And you are writing this paper to give the movie more depth than it would have been by just watching it. In other words, think of it this way. You go to see a movie with a friend. On your way back to the car or out to get coffee after you've seen the film, you guys might talk about the film. Certain scenes that you like, certain characters that you like, stuff you disliked, what have you. That person, you don't need to say what happened in the film because they already have seen it. That's the person you are talking to. That's your audience for this paper, is somebody who has seen the film. Your focus needs to be on making an argument about how well the film fits into your definition of the genre. Okay, that's your focus in the paper. You're writing this paper to give a movie more depth than it would have by just watching it. Now, next paragraph is also important. Plagiarism alert. I've already had to fail somebody for plagiarism this term on this paper. I don't want to have to do it again. All of your work in this paper should be your own. It is not necessary to use outside sources in this paper at all. There will be a zero-tolerance policy on plagiarism for this paper, so do not copy from any internet sources, reviews, etc. Zero tolerance. One sentence that comes from a source can get your paper 0. So make sure that you are doing all your own original work. The only thing that you can discuss in this paper is your opinion about how well it fits into the genre, or stuff that would be on the DVD, like actors' names, director's name, and so on. Okay? All your own original work. Do not use any outside source material, please. All right, moving on to page 2. The formatting's fairly similar to the first essay, but I will point out that many of you did not format your first essay correctly. You need to make sure that you're following the formatting guidelines because the penalties for that's going to get harsher as the term goes along. Also, you need to make sure that you're defining your word from the comments in the first paper before you turn in the next one. Otherwise, the system won't let you turn it in. Okay, so you need to have a good title, a good lead-in. I'll talk about what that is in a second. Fully explains how your movie fits into the above guidelines. Well organized, free of grammatical and mechanical errors, language appropriate to the academic essay. There was a big problem when the first essay was second person, you, your, y'all. Eliminate that from the paper unless it's in a direct quote from the film. Let's see, it needs to be double-spaced in Times New Roman 12-point fonts. Follow MLA guidelines for paper formatting. There's more info on paper formatting on the syllabus and also in your Pocket Style Manual. It needs to be submitted to Canvas by the due date. Okay, so here is the movie list. You must discuss how the film fits into the genre it's listed under. So, the ones that are under a love story, you have to write about how well it fits into the love story genre. Bull Durham is a sports movie, but there's a love story to it. Going farther down, if you write about Twilight, you have to discuss how well it fits into the vampire genre, not the love story genre. Other categories, thriller. These tend to be more psychological and less blood and guts than the next category, which is a horror film. Science fiction. I tried to pick science fiction films that were the first in a series. In the case of Star Trek, it's kind of the first of the relaunch. Comic book film. Again, I tried to include the origin story of the superhero within that. An epic film is like an epic poem that is the story of a major event or of a people or of a hero. And that's what I was really looking for in this category. Social commentary. This is a film that puts a mirror up to society, really demonstrating or taking a close look at something we maybe take for granted but want to put scrutiny on. So if you look at, for example, American History X, it looks at racism in Los Angeles. Trainspotting is a movie about heroin junkies. Fight Club and Lord of the Flies are really all about how we live our lives. American Beauty, Academy Award winner for Best Picture. Good film, and what's interesting about that film is you have people that make plenty of money. They live in the suburbs in a nice house. They have the cars they want, and they're absolutely miserable. And it's kind of about how the main character learns to be happy again without all the material possessions that he has. Okay, so that's the film list. You need to use a film on this list, or if you're going to use a film that's not on this list, you need to ask me, and it needs to fit one of these 8 genres. Let's see, page 3. What is a lead-in? A lead-in is a short paragraph before your introduction that catches the reader's interest through a small story, scene, or anecdote. The idea for this essay is to describe a short part of the movie that will make the reader want to read further. This is a separate paragraph from the introduction. This comes before the introduction. Look at the sample movie essay. Has a very good lead-in and a good model for the type of lead-in you should have for your paper. A good lead-in contains the following: a short story, scene, or anecdote, catches the reader's attention, introduces the subject of the essay. Now, by the end of the lead-in, the reader won't know exactly what you're going to say about the film, but they should have an idea about what the essay is going to cover and should be interested to read further. Chapter 4 has a detailed explanation of the lead-in if you want to take a look at it. Okay, so lead-in is a paragraph before your introduction. Ideally, in this paper, you're going to have a lead-in that's a scene from the film that really demonstrates something about the genre. So if you're writing about a horror film, you might narrate a scene from the film where this girl is running through the woods and she's breathing hard and she keeps looking over her shoulder, and then it cuts to the monster chasing her and he finally chases her down and it cuts to black. That's the kind of scene you could describe for a horror film because it's kind of a stereotypical or typical scene from that kind of film. Then you can go into your introduction where you're going to establish what you're going to discuss in the essay. Now, in your introduction, you're either going to talk about your definition in the introduction along with your blueprint for the essay, or you're going to talk about your definition of the film sometime right after the introduction. But that doesn't mean you just leave it there. Continue to develop that definition of what you think a good film in the genre should do as the essay goes along. Okay, you should take a close look at the grading rubric to see how you're going to be evaluated. Remember, on this essay, if you use the second person, it's a automatic 65% or less, so make sure you eliminate that. Don't